Hello and welcome back to Karborundum Quest. This is our lovely special on irritable bowel syndrome. Unfortunately, our kerbals have been having a bit of a problem with their stomachs, and they've decided that instead of having NOMS, the USI life support method, that they are going to start making some changes in their life to be a bit healthier, and they're going to have separate food and water and oxygen and all that jazz, in preparation of installing TACLS life support. So this requires some changes. Now, what I'd actually done is at the beginning of the week, I had made this spacecraft that people had seen in the last episode, and I was deciding to send the base off. So we launched a lovely little ship to refill it with fusion pellets. It had the liquid hydrogen it needed already, it just didn't have fusion pellets. And it had enough uranium in the reactor to last. So to test it, because these modules, as you can see, there's actually two modules there, I'm launching it as one. These are designed to be a base. They have a whole load of the MKS parts inside them for mining and harvesting, and they're a little bit inspired by the Mass Effect bases from all of the games. So here we are, just landing down on Minmus. It is at the moment completely unoccupied. It's flying on it's flying as a drone, but it doesn't have the control methods to actually give it a good flight ability. It has no reaction wheel, so we're using throttle controlled avionics just to get it on the floor. So once we've got it down there, just turn off all of the engines and then send some crew down to it. So here we go, our first landing module. This is from the SSTU mod, one of their little landers. One of their larger versions can carry 3 people instead of 2. I think it's a mid-range one. And again, I just, for ease of use, landed this one using throttle control avionics. I've never actually used it before this for landing from orbit, so I give it a try. And then, because it lands and then decides that that's not a good place and moves over, I just disabled it and landed it naturally at the very end. And this is where we do a little bit of our first surgery to get this base ready. Now, the reason why this is called surgery is because there is a lot of USI life support mod parts in ships, obviously. That's my life support system. So we have to cut them out of the ships or scrap the ships, and this is actually going to be over 2 mods. As I'm speaking, I've still got a lot to do. So here we go, we're just dropping off our detachable rockets at the side, putting the solar panels out just so that base has a bit of energy at the moment. Then we bring out our engineer and go along destroying everything that doesn't need to be there. My entire idea of this is that this base can recycle any ships you can land there, and the place I've landed it is next to where some of our rovers exploded, so we can recycle those parts as well. Now I've set something up to build, so just while that was building, I just launched a quick little probe on a polar orbit, a little drone probe with ScanSat on it, because I want to look for some anomalies. I want to try and gather a bit more science, just to unlock more parts a bit faster, and Kerbin's the easiest place for the moment to do that. And I've not done much in the atmosphere in Kerbin, so I figured I'd launch a little drone for use in later on subjects. So just flying a little kerbal round. The transfer mode was starting to mess about, so did it manually. Typical ejection and landing. And the reason I'm doing this is because I'm trying to scrap most of the ships. Although I've just created this one, I'm not really happy with it. So people will recognise this. It's had a little bit of an extension to the cargo bay. And this is where the main part of our surgery begins. This is the base that I spent quite a while putting up here, and I really don't want that effort to go to waste. So, as I've had to do before in my playing of Kerbal, we're going to conduct a little bit of station surgery. So I'm just having a look at it. That recycling mod that you can see just above the main cockpit and underneath the solar section, that has to go because it's part of the USI life support mod. strangely enough, I don't have many tanks on this. Oh, I don't have any tanks. That's the only thing that's part of the USI life support mod. So, out our little Kerman goes. Kerman, Kerbal, Kerban. Yep, so getting the drill ready. This is always a bit iffy. Sometimes when you detach things it goes absolutely brilliantly, and sometimes it explodes in fiery doom. But if you just use, I believe it's the H key, you select the next part. As you can see, both of them selected. So there we go, it's just detached. Now detached it from the top section and it's gone. And I realised something very quickly, that that top section, I actually parked it using drones. So those bars actually have a drone controller unit on each of them. There's 4 there, and because it's got so much RCS, I can just float it back, and instead of trying to bring up docking ports and reattach them, I'm just using the docking ports that are on it for the moment. I've never really used them for anything else because of the placement of the solar panels, so I'm just dropping it down to the lower section and bringing it in. I've disabled the centrifuge for this because I really don't want the idea of the centrifuge whacking a solar panel and, in best case, destroying it, worst case, sending this section flying. It's already not exactly straight, so it's a bit of a pain to dock. And for some reason, after that 1.2 fix, I always get a wobble on autopilot. It's a nightmare. And if you have stability control turned on, then it just starts wobbling. Then the next section, we're just undocking our little life support module. Now, you'll recognise that this actually has the same part that we just destroyed right in the middle of it. It's got some USI life support containers. The reason for this is very specific. It's that at the moment I'm not changing it over. I've still got a lot of work to do, but it means that when I do change it over, all I have to do is undock this particular module and either re-enter it or just crash it. Just leave it there and reload the save, having taken out the mod and putting in TACLS life support, and that craft just on its own will disappear as opposed to the entire space station not being loaded. I'm already running a separate client that I'm sort of testing this on, and this is where I came up with this is the best method so far. We'll see what happens with it. Now there are supplies on the station, but they are in MKS containers, part of the container mod for USI. So I believe that I can just, it will just basically keep the supplies there, nothing much will happen to them. I've not tested that far yet. But now our next thing, and this is our lovely final act for the day. As I said, getting rid of some of the ships that have the mods in them that I don't want. And although I created this ship, I'm not happy with it. I absolutely love the DSEV mod, but the way that I've put these engines together, because I wanted more thrust from them, it's just a bit lacking for what I do. It's a very good mod, but I seem to build bigger than most people can handle, and it's not brilliant. So this is the point where I realised that I had not put enough RCS on this to keep it stable, and my reaction wheel just could not keep up with the weight of the thing. So unfortunately, what was supposed to be quite a nice, easy deployment and landing turned into a bit of hell, and I'm trying to use throttle controlled avionics to land it, but that's just not working for me. I am not a master at using. I know how to do basic things, and it's just going horribly, horribly, horribly wrong for me. And as you can see, it is taking an inordinate amount of time. So this is where it starts going a bit funny. Now I realise at this point there's no way of saving it. I'm going to crash. So I bail the kerbal because I try and save my kerbals, and that was the most beautiful miss that I've ever had. And then because I realised that the centrifuges are strong enough that they won't break, I decide to try and get back on board the ship, because it's, as you can see, its thrusters are still going. So being the brave little kerbal he is, he can't get close to the door. He's trying and trying and trying, and he comes up with the idea, instead of going for the door and getting blown away by those thrusters there, luckily they're not killing him, they go for the centre bit, get in the door and climb through to the front. But by this point we're settled on the surface. And this is where a funny thing happens. Now I've actually passed this funny bit on, but I stop the centrifuges, and then, just because, I reduce the power and try and retract them. And there we go. We see how badly banged up the ship is. So yeah, this is on the ground, so it's just going to get recycled into material kits now. It'll just take a little bit of time to do it. By the end of it, I should have a good chunk of recycle kits for building things on this, which means that I could very quickly build the life support mods that I need to trill out the water and try and recover hydrogen off of the surface. I'm not an expert at this, so it might be a little bit of a time before the next episode of changing mods and good old IBS inspired mod change. Well, thanks for watching, and I shall see you again soon.